Alright guys, we're back working on the work benches. So last video I mounted some casters. There's the quick release on one side and the wheels on the other side, and they're working great. And I want to do the same thing. That's my table saw, my job site table saw, and I want to do the same thing on this one. However, I don't want to put them across from one another because it's going to leave too much of a gap, I think. So I need to offset them. So we got some work to do. I need to put some support beams in there, but before I can do that, I have to clean up the garage slash workshop. So we're going to get to it. Guys, I know it is not very exciting to watch somebody clean out their garage, especially sped up. I thought I'd take this opportunity to kind of give you some history of the house and my plans, and then if you guys got some feedback, I would appreciate it. The house was built in 1953 and was expanded or added on twice, with the last thing done in the early to mid 70s. The garage had only the water heater, which you can't see, it's in the back on the far left hand side, and one other electrical outlet, and that was it. We moved the washer and dryer in here along with the plumbing needed and the electrical, and also the wall on the right hand side had no electrical hookups whatsoever, and we recently added a circuit for that. So there are some means to actually turn this garage into a fairly decent shop, and that's my goal. So in speaking to the wall, that has actually you can't see it, but there's a window right in the middle, and it was way too costly to have it removed and filled back in because the garage is made entirely out of brick. So every single local masonry was going to charge way too much to do it, and I don't have the skills and I couldn't find anyone to help. So I decided to just cover it up, and I did it in a way that it's not going to cause any issues. It's got a nice vapor barrier, it's got a storm window on the outside, so I don't have to worry about any seepage or anything like that. But where the window is, that's where I think I want to put a miter saw station, since I have a miter saw. That way I don't have to have I don't want to put a cabinet above it. I want to put cabinets to the left and right, and then I want to put, storage cabinets also below. But it's going to take some time. And if you guys have any other suggestions whatsoever, please chime in below. I have a lot of scrap lumber, so yes, I know I need to create a scrap lumber spot. Again, work in progress. The main focus right now is to get things organized because it's not that good, and I have some upcoming projects to get me along the way. And again, I'm not a woodworker. I'm doing the best I can with what I have, with what understanding I have. I do a lot of watching of YouTube videos, and it makes it look so simple. All right, now that I got most of the garage cleared out for a workspace, yes, I'm doing my laundry in the background, I'm going to move these workbenches so I can work on them. So my working idea here is that the casters I put on the larger workbench here, which is again just a general workbench, I use it as an outfeed table because I was able to get the table saw to line up with this one, and it works out real well for my first kind of table saw and infeed, outfeed. It's just a general workbench that I can use for hopefully many years to come because it's so darn sturdy, and it is. But it's heavy, so that's why I put those casters on it. And to keep things mobile, I wanted to put the same casters on the table saw workbench here, and it's of the same basic idea to where I use 2x4s and plywood, and they're just bare bones. So I'm really enjoying doing the work, making mistakes, learning from the mistakes, and trying to come up with ways to do things that I didn't know I could do by watching many YouTube videos, which, by the way, always makes things look so much easier. But I'm still using pocket holes because that's about the easiest joinery I know, instead of just driving screws. I guess, I could have done that anyways. But this is me with my Kreg. I believe it's the 720 pocket hole.
And it makes things real easy to line it up and to get them all set up for, you know, doing what they need to do. If you guys got any questions or any suggestions on other ways of doing anything that I'm doing in these videos, I welcome the feedback, again, in the comments. What you guys did not see there was I actually measured and verified and wrote down the gap that I'm putting this 2x4 in, and it was off by 1/8, even though I measured it twice. So my miter saw is off screen, and I just trimmed it a little bit. And as you saw, it fit pretty well. And again, when it comes to using a table saw, a skill saw, a miter saw, I understand the kerf of a blade, but I'm still, sometimes I come up short, sometimes I go off a little bit long. So this one that I come up here, it fits fine, but it's just a little bit too loose, not too much tapping needed. But overall, I did a pretty good job. And like I said, this isn't a professional cabinet that I'm selling to anyone or something like that. I'm just learning as I go, and I'm having a lot of fun. And I know a lot of people say, you know, that's what's important. Have fun. Now my editing is not the best either, so what I've been doing is just setting up the camera and letting it record, and then I come through and there's tons and tons and tons of footage. I've been just walking around looking for tools because, again, not everything is where it should be, and I just go get it and I do the work. But again, this is a really basic workbench, and it's sturdy, and that's what I like about it. And it was easy. It was not a whole lot of woodworking wizardry or anything like that. Pocket holes are still really new to me, and as you can see there, the screw kind of pierced there. So I still am learning, and still, again, having a ton of fun. But the idea is that the larger workbench, the general workbench, and this one are actually going to be most of the time kind of attached to one another, because I'll be using the table saw a lot. But if I'm not, I came up with this way to where I can use heavy duty latches to keep them together, so that when I'm using the table saw and this workbench together, nothing shifts. I don't have to worry about anything. And unfortunately, I didn't take the time to film it, but you'll see it in some future videos. And again, if it works out, great. If not, it doesn't. But so far, it's working out pretty good. So this is just the other side that needs to have some pocket holes attached to it. And, you know, like I said, I watch videos, and it's interesting how some people will use clamps to keep stuff in place because, you know, clamps are your third and fourth hand. So I am learning, and I don't have that big of a clamp collection. I did pick up a couple of pipe clamps because my overall project here is to get organized. I need to put stuff away, and I don't have any cabinets to do that yet. So I'm going to use the typical garage bin storage rack system, all DIY, of course. So, but at least I'm able to take what I have, the tools, the understanding, and I can get some stuff to work. So again, it's fun. It is really a lot of fun that when you do something, and this is all taking it from watching people's videos and going, oh, okay, that I can use that for something I have a need for. The one difference between these casters that are on the smaller workbench and the casters on the larger workbench is I didn't have as much lumber to go through. I just had one 2x4 versus two 2x4s. So the bolts, which I screwed in, which are not wooden bolts, they're not lags, they're just normal bolts, actually went all the way through, so I was able to attach the nuts this time. I really don't think I needed them to do that, but I didn't need to have extra hardware flopping around, getting in my way, because I don't have that much room. I'm going to be honest with you. But I think I'm going to be able to turn this garage into a fairly decent DIY project garage, and a lot of work to be done still. I need something set up so I can do rip cuts, and so this little table is going to be my table saw bench. I'm just doing this to make sure the offset is good, and it worked out really good. The second set of casters now being installed. Now I used, you know, the same measurements so everything would line up, and symmetry is always important, from what I understand. So the casters are, again, very straightforward. You just, you know, they've got 2 holes, and these are the quick connect part of it. And if you don't want to use them, then you can, they actually have holes in the actual casters, so you can just drill them straight to the workbench, and you don't have to worry about it. The reason I decided to go with quick connect is I think that with my very large feet walking around, that I keep tripping over the casters. So being able to take them off temporarily, I think it was a smart move on my part. Later on, what I realized is my pilot holes were too small, so I ended up just putting a bigger bit in. And so yeah, I'm checking there because I was very nervous. The pocket holes that I just drilled and used, these bolts were going through the holes. So if I need to back out the pocket holes for any reason, I have to back out these also. And hopefully I don't ever have to do that. I guess I could have actually done it right and maybe shifted them over more, but I think having the casters too far in the center would have made it a little bit unstable, you know, when I'm trying to move things around. And this is just me taking the casters and getting them all set up and assembled. Pretty straightforward. Like I said, and I've been using them on the large workbench below, and they work great. I mean, there's probably better casters out there. I've said before that Rockler has one that's very much like these, but I think they're like 60 bucks, and these are only 40 bucks. And I know you could always say you get what you pay for. Rockler's a really good brand. These work, and these desks come nowhere near the weight capacity of these. So I think these will be here for a while. And like I said, they're very easy to set up and install. The Quick Connect is very versatile, I think, because, you know, you don't want to be working on a workbench that has casters. You don't want it to roll. And yeah, I know there's casters that are locking. But for me, is what I was doing is creating a too tall of a workbench. And I didn't plan that far in the future. So by finding these quick disconnect, or these disconnect casters that can come off, worked out really well for me. So as you can see, all installed, and you know, you release them, it's on the ground, it's sturdy, and look at that, piece of cake.